Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in. In today's video, we are going to be building a set of custom retrofitted projector headlights for a 6.0 Powerstroke. I've built probably a little over a dozen sets now, so I've gotten pretty good at it. This is going to be a very detailed video on how you can do them yourself. I'm going to go step by step. So for this set here, we are not going to be doing any painting. We're just going to be fitting a projector in this headlight housing. If you are interested in painting them, I do highly recommend that you use Easy Off oven cleaner on the chrome, and it just takes the chrome right off in a matter of seconds. That way you can just spray a primer on there, and then you don't have to do any sanding or anything like that. And then for the projectors, these are ones that you can find on Amazon. They go for about $30, and these are the ones that I use in all the sets that I've built. I had these in my personal truck for over a year, and I had absolutely zero issues with them. I'll put a couple of pictures up here of the brightness, high and low beam. These projectors use H1 HID bulbs. So yeah, for the price of these, they're pretty good and they work great. So those are all the materials that you'll need to build these headlights. Unless obviously you are painting, then you'll need that Easy Off oven cleaner, or if you do choose to sand them, then you can go ahead and sand them, but the Easy Off does work really, really well. Then obviously you'll need your primer, paint, and clear coat. And then as for tools, we are going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, and then I'd probably grab like 2 flathead screwdrivers to pry apart the headlights. So first thing we're going to want to do is preheat the oven to 225. So the next thing you're going to want to do is remove this Phillips head right here. That screw helps hold the lens to the housing. And then before we stick these in the oven, we're just going to remove all 3 of these socket covers. And also before this goes in the oven, you're going to want to remove this this cover that seals up the housing. Once your oven is up to 225, you can go ahead and put the headlight in. So now we will set a timer for 10 minutes and come back when it's done. And then while that headlight is baking, I like to repeat those steps for the second headlight, just removing the screw over here, and then these 3 socket covers, then the cover up here that seals up the housing.
Alright, so I already got the other headlight apart, and this one has been baking for 10 minutes at 225 degrees, so we're going to go ahead and pull it apart. The last one actually didn't even use the flathead, so we're going to start at the top and then work our way down. Just peeling these back. And also, I'm actually going to, before I even start doing that, I'm going to put this back on so the lens doesn't get scratched up or anything. The only reason for taking it off was, obviously, so it doesn't melt in the oven. Sometimes the corners can be a little bit tricky, but there we go. Alright, so the bottom usually has a lot of glue on it, so once you get the top apart, I'm just going to flip it over. Alright, so the second one is apart.
We're going to take out these 3 screws here, one there, and then one over here, and those 3 screws hold in this bucket, I guess you could call it, down here. So once you get those 3 screws out, you can go ahead and lift up the housing, and there we go. So now we will just set this aside because we will not be using it until we go to put them back together. Alright, so now that we have both of the bottom buckets out, we're going to go ahead and remove the top ones. This is definitely the trickiest part of the whole process. To get these out, we're going to want to take a heat gun and heat up these clips right here. We'll do that one first, this one down here second, and then we will tighten up this screw up here and the bucket should pop out. I've already done this first one off camera, and there it is. These are the clips that we're going to be heating up.
Alright, so we're going to take our heat gun and just heat this one up over here.
Alright, that should be good. Then we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and just yep.
Yeah, heat gun out again.
Before we try and pop it out, we're going to tighten up this screw up here. This adjusts the housing up and down. So now that we have popped this clip out here, we can just pull this out from this screw. Alright, so here are the top buckets, and this is what we're going to be fitting the projectors into. First step to fitting these projectors is to remove this piece. Pretty simple. You can just wiggle it around, up and down, side to side, and it just pulls right out. Alright, so the next step to fitting the projectors in these buckets is going to be cutting this piece off right here. As you can see, I have made a mark on it for you guys to see better. We're going to cut along that and all the way around here. And to shave down the back of those buckets, I'm just using this Milwaukee fine tool. You can use a Dremel or anything really like this that will make a fine cut. Alright, so now that we have both of those cut and shaved down, I'm going to go grab a sander just to clean them up and make sure they're even so the projector doesn't sit like sideways or so. I will put you guys up on another time lapse and we'll get these sanded down. Alright, so here is the bucket all shaved down and sanded. Nice and even, so the projector does not sit sideways or anything, and it is looking straight out. And the reason for cutting the back of this off is so you can get enough threads through on the projector so then it can get screwed into the bucket. So I'm going to unbox the projectors now so you guys can see what you'll get in the box if you do order these projectors, and what we will be using and what we will not be using. Alright, so here's what you will find when you open the box for the projectors. You have the projector itself. We have just some seals or gaskets, whatever you want to call them. And then we got some washers and the retainer for the HID bulb. And then we have the shroud, which goes on the projector like that. And then lastly, we have the screws for the shroud to go onto the projector. So I'm going to start putting all this stuff together, and then we will get them mounted in the buckets. So the first thing that we are going to do is remove those 3 screws right there. Once you have those 3 screws removed, you can go ahead and pull this piece off. This is what is going to retain the bulb. The thing we're going to do is install the shroud onto the projector. As you can see, there is different spacing in the holes of the shroud, so there's only one way that it can go on. And on the back of the projector, in the top left corner, right there, it says top. And the holes on the back of the shroud with the larger spacing in between them, those are going to go on the bottom of the projector. Alright, so once you get all 4 screws installed, just go around, make sure that they're all tight. And then we are going to open up this bag with the seals and the washers in it. So we'll be using everything except for this washer here. This one we will not be using. The thing that we're going to do is take this on the back of the projector, just like that. And now, we will set the projector aside and grab our bucket. It doesn't matter, these are not, they're not like left and right. There's only a top and a bottom. And on the back of the projector, where it says top up there, in the top left corner, just make sure that that is on the top. Feed these wires through the hole in the bucket, and then we just put the projector in. So once you have the projector situated like that, we are going to take this smaller gasket and just put it right over the threads of the projector. And another little trick to make sure that the projector is facing the right way, or that the top is actually pointed towards the top, would be this little slot down here is made for the bulb to fit into, so just make sure that that is facing downward, and you will be all set. So now we are going to take this bigger washer and notice the little slot at the top of it. And that just goes like so. Then we'll take the nut and thread it onto the projector. And just get it hand tight, and then you can tighten it up with a pair of pump pliers. Alright guys, so we got the projectors installed in the buckets. I have not installed the buckets into the housings yet, but I did put these retainers back on for the bulbs. It's just these 3 screws right in here, same way that we took them out. You can do that now, or you can do it when you get the headlight all back together. It really does not matter. But anyways, we are going to install the buckets back into the housing, and those just go in the same way that they came out. We're going to heat up these black clips really quick. You don't have to do it for as long as you did it when you were removing them. I'm just going to do it so they snap in a little bit easier. And after you get those snapped in, we will push this back onto this adjustment screw, and then that is it. Then we will reinstall this lower bucket. And these snap in really easy, and with a little bit of heat, they just go right in. Definitely not as hard as taking them out. So now we will screw this back up so we can adjust the housing a little bit. There, that should be good. And now, as you can see, the bucket is back in and secured. We'll do the second one, same way as the first one. Heat those up for a couple of seconds. And just snap them back into place. Like that, and like that. And then the adjustment screw, just push that in. And then we will adjust it. There it goes. Sometimes you might have to push on the bucket a little bit, just to get it to like clip in to the screw, because it does have a little slot in there, that plastic piece that pushes into the bottom of the screw. So you might just have to push on it a little bit while you're screwing it, but yeah, there we go. They're all in. Alright guys, so now we are going to reinstall the lower buckets. And these do have a left and a right. So just make sure that you get those lined up. And these are going to go in the same way that they came out, with just the 3 screws in the back. So just kind of hold it in place like that, and then flip the headlight around. Alright, so now that we have the bottom bucket in, just make sure that the 3 screws on the back are nice and snug. And I'm going to bring these into the house, and I'll show you guys the next steps for sealing the lenses back up. So definitely make sure that these are nice and clean before you seal them back up. So when I seal the headlights back up, I just use this stuff, Permatex black silicone. You can use clear as well. I just go around the whole headlight on the inside, right in the little slot that's already there. And I do not touch the old glue, because that also helps to seal the headlight to prevent any condensation from getting in. Alright, so to set the lens back on, we are just kind of going to set it in place. Obviously the glue isn't heated up or anything yet, so it can't really push into place. And we are not going to worry about this screw back here quite yet until after they are done baking. So I'm going to put them in the oven 10 minutes, 225 degrees, and I'll be back with you guys. Alright, so I had to move out to the garage, but this one has been baking for 10 minutes. So we are going to just push it back into place. And you want to start at the top first and try to get these little tabs that are on the lens into this little slot that is in the housing. And then there is the tab that's on the lens. So we want to work around the headlight, pressing those tabs into place. Alright guys, so now that we got the lens all set in place, the last final steps are to reinstall the screw down in the bottom corner, and then just put that seal on there, and that is pretty much it. Alright guys, so here is the final product of the retrofitted headlights. Really hope that you guys liked the video, and my main goal of this video was to provide enough information and detail to the viewer so you yourself can go and take this information and build these yourself. It is really fun, and it is honestly a pretty simple process. I mean, after you do it a couple times, that's kind of easy to say, but it really is not that hard. Tomorrow the gauges will be coming for the truck, so hopefully this weekend I can get to installing those and get a video out for you guys. The last thing, I will put all of the links to the products that I used and the bulbs that I recommend and all that in the description so you guys can buy this stuff yourself. There are tons of other suppliers for the projectors. Morimoto's a good brand. You know, there's tons of them. But these ones are on the cheaper side, and they do work really well. As I said earlier in the video, I had these on my personal truck for over a year, and they did really well. And if you guys do have any questions about anything that maybe I missed, or I don't know, just anything about the headlights in general, feel free to DM me on Instagram. So anyways, that is going to wrap up the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. Also like and comment on the video.